This is Old Times is Not Forgotten. You will be amazed at the stories I found in the 1930s newspaper. I will be reading to you those articles, and as a bonus, I'll put in some 1930s newsreels. These newsreels were played when you went to the theater as a fill-in. I'll only put the most interesting ones, like this fellow who can read a newspaper blindfolded.
Not in his 15 years' experience as a teacher of magicians has Dr. Harlan Tarbell had an experience like this one. He's visiting the Metropolitan Motion Picture Studio to perform his amazing demonstration before the camera. Well, you'll see and hear what happened. With cotton pads and layers of adhesive tape, his eyes are sealed. And then...
That is a newspaper. In reading a newspaper, I read in a little bit different manner, in a way that you cannot read even with your eyes open. I see that's a bowling event. Stein takes the lead with 149 pins in a national match event. Here is a picture of the oldest and the youngest in the bowling tournament. Bill Heerman, 57 years old, and Vincent Powers, 23 years old.
Ford News.
I get a mental impression that the boys around the studio wonder if I'm really doing this according to Hoyle. Well, boys, bring up your objects and place them in a few inches of my fingertips. Anything at all. I would say that's a card. And on that card, it's of Lemon. Oh, it's a Detroit card, isn't it? His first name's Leonard. Is that right? Correct. All right. This happens to be a card of Rowley and Zimmerman. Is that right? Correct. All right. The tripod for a camera. That's some size. A sort of a wallet with a letter on the inside. Next. There's a plug box. The electrician would get that thing out. All right. Next. That's a photograph. I would say a photograph of a mother with a little baby on her arm, or on his back. Is that right? Correct. Next. Well, there's a traveling stage employees contract.
Give him some.
Come on, next. That's a $50. Oh, say, that's an old one, though. My gracious. Say, put that about my little finger, will you? 1830, correct? And that is what they call eyeless vision. The result of 15 years in the work of the compensation of the human senses. Really and truly see.
In today's video, we are reading the vintage newspaper, the Iona Sentinel Standard, with selected stories from 1936 and 1937. Let's start with this funny article about hay fever. A fugitive he is from Sneeze Gang. I am a fugitive from a sneeze gang, but Sheriff Paulin's hot breath fans my neck and tickles my nose at every turn. People shy away from me on trains and in other public places, apparently fearing my red, running eyes, my sneeze, and my wet handkerchiefs with which I am armed. Nearly 25 years of the affliction has convinced me that hay fever is public enemy number one. Social ambitions are forgotten, work during the day is difficult, and sleep at night well nigh impossible. The mere mention of hay fever, kerchoo, makes me sneeze. Polite inquiry as to my general health fills my eyes with wettest of tears. Passing a florist's shop tickles my throat and races my temperature up, and this question drives me crazy. What is hay fever anyhow? Just a bad cold? My best reply is paraphrasing of General William Tecumseh Sherman's famous statement, "Hay fever is hell." These same persons who don't even know what it is are the first to come forward with pet remedies. They range from holding your head underwater for 30 minutes to stepping in front of a streamlined train. I feel at times that both suggestions have their good points. More sensible relief getters, there is no known cure, are 1. Avoid meats, eggs, nuts, uncooked fruits, and other high-protein foods. 2. Avoid dust, weeds, and sunlight. 3. Remain in a closed room with washed air. 4. Go into one of the few places where hay fever is never found. After all these years, I still hope for an honest-to-goodness blizzard in August or an early frost. Yes, hay fever is hell. Ka-choo! The horse and buggy had one advantage. Dealers couldn't change the design every year to make your old ones look funny. Ice cream, cold drinks, staple groceries and candies. Ice cream all flavors, quarts packed, 25 cents. At S. Augustino's in the west end of town. Here's the old cartoon, Neighborly Neighbors. Pa, my pet, I was just thinking about that $500 we won. Now we can get some. Thinking's bad for women folks, ma'am. Quit it and hush that wee stuff. I'm the one who walloped Bide Bilge. Looks like Elvira is in for a disappointment if she expects to move right in on that $500. The Colonel evidently has his own ideas about putting the money in circulation. Editor of a woman's magazine says, women like simple, direct statements. Anyone who believes that should try telling one she has on too much lipstick.
Dionne Babies pose again exclusively for Pathé News with head nurse de Carolyn and Dr. Alan Roy Defoe, the country doctor whose care has brought them through their first year. He revealed them to you in exclusive motion pictures soon after they were born, at the age of 5 months, and now here they are approaching their first birthday, looking very dignified as wards of King George V. Yvonne and Annette, Cecile, Emily, and Marie. Marie, you know, is the personality girl. Just now she's studying the advantages of thumb sucking, and her baby resisted, even by dignified young lady, sort of squirmy. It requires much concentration in order to produce those extra teeth. The babies sit up to receive visitors and hold court like 5 little queens. Let us present them to you. Left to right, Annette, the good-natured, Yvonne, the biggest, Marie, full of mischief and just a trifle off balance, Emily, who is demure and retiring except when she's trying to beat her sister's cutting teeth, and Cecile, who can outkick the whole bunch of them. The little sister's in a thoughtful mood, wondering when their favorite orange juice will be served. Notice that expectant look. Annette thinks it's the best drink ever. And so does Yvonne. In addition to orange juice and milk, they now get solid meals with potatoes, carrots, and vegetables.
Bearded Ball Hawks beat Indians 13-11. In a game marked by thrills in the later innings, Iona Reformatory's Indians lost a close contest to the famed, bewhiskered House of David 9 from Benton Harbor Wednesday afternoon on the Prison Diamond, 13-11. Henderson, the Negro hurler for the Indians, went the route and allowed 12 hits, while the Reformatory team garnered 18 off Deal House of David flinger. The Bearded Ball team scored 7 runs in the second and were sliding along to an easy victory when the Indians scored heavily in the late innings to throw a scare into the visitors. 5 errors by the Indians spelled defeat, as the only runs in the second frame was earned. Two errors and misjudged flies aided the razorless lads. Air-conditioned Iona Theater. August is greater movie season. Ending tonight, Hugh Herbert, Mary Boland in Marry the Girl. A transatlantic flight, a fog-locked field, enough gas for 15 minutes. Life and love waited below. Could she make it? Myrna Loy, Cary Grant, in Wings in the Dark. You killed Pat Mack, she hissed. The detectives were amazed when the Iowa schoolmarm pointed her blunderbuss at the one person they never suspected. A crime story that will thrill you to the funny bone. Murder on a Honeymoon with Edna May Oliver and James Gleason. Ooh, here's the one I want to see. Clark Gable, Jean Harlow, Myrna Loy in Wife vs. Secretary. 3 stars, 3 times as gay as any romance you have ever seen. Added news, color, cartoon, and especially added novelty, audioscopics, something you will never forget.
Smart fashions in footwear. A rainy morning, no rubbers, but sure footing in shoes of gleaming waterproof patent leather with a new pearl luster finish. A shining example for the new year. Oxfords and pumps hold their own during the rainy season. And now, with clear afternoon skies, it is time to wear the more formal high heel shoe. These exhibits are designed by Dan Porter. This Oxford is for cocktails. Evening brings the high heel sandals with the open toes. Dance, be merry, and keep pace with the times in slippers fit for Cinderella.
I Got Sore. Ernest Hemingway above, 197-pound He-Man writer, offered to fight a return bout with Max Eastman after a no-decision scuffle in a New York publisher's office. Hemingway said he began to get sore after a book of Eastman's poetry entitled Bull in the Afternoon. He thought it might have been an uncomplimentary takeoff on his bullfighting novel, Death in the Afternoon, and he didn't like some of the text. Used cars, priced for quick sale. Every car that we sell is thoroughly reconditioned and carries with it our guarantee to that effect. 1932 Chevrolet Coach, $405. A 1902 Chevrolet Coupe, $395. At Williman Chevrolet.
Well, they won't find me in a line like this next year. That's what they always say. But each year there's the same last-minute rush for license plates at all the principal branches of the Office of the Secretary of State. But this year, the waiting was less wearisome for the reason that the state, very considerately, had cut a substantial slice off the cost of tags. Cut off all but the tag end, one might say. A little work with the wrench, and now he's all set for 1934.
The Flying Flea, flown by Clyde Pangburn, round-the-world conqueror of oceans. Look out, Pang, or it'll get in your hair. A flip of a finger starts the motor at Roosevelt Field, New York. Weight 350 pounds, 20-foot wing spread, 10 feet long, 20 horsepower, 4 gallons of gas. A French midget to sell for $300. And Clyde Pangburn is heading for a breathless takeoff. Watch that flea dip a wing and nearly crash. Right there, we nearly lost one of our greatest aviators, the man who flew round the world and the Pacific non-stop. It's a tricky flea in the air. Look out or it'll land in somebody's shirt.
Here's a new one. Nudism gives poise. Miss Elizabeth Osborne, New York consultant in personal appearance, told Michigan State Normal College co-eds yesterday that nudism had its educational phases, although she did not approve of the practice. I do not advocate nudist camps, she said, but to my mind, they have one redeeming feature. People not hampered by clothes, learn to move more beautifully and to walk well.
Have you still got your clothes on? Come on, take them off. Make it snappy. Get out here with us.
Yeah.
Make it snappy.
You're not leaving the camp so soon, are you?
Why, no. What makes you think that?
Well, you've got your clothes on. Hurry up and take them off. It was nice to keep me waiting for breakfast, is it?
I didn't understand. You haven't got the time on you.
Well, hardly. But I'll go and find out if you want me to.
Dr. William L. Thiedman, roofless plates, a specialty. Plates $8. Extractions of a tooth 50 cents. The sailor had just arrived at the old home after voyaging around for a number of years. "Well, Mother, how did you like the parrot I sent you?" "Well, it was nice and plump, but my, it was tough." A Missouri court has ruled that a ditch is no place for a drunk to park in. Another blow at our personal liberties.
Elderly tomatoes and other ancient fruit, grandfather eggs and such. The ammunition for the annual brawl between the Frosh and sophomores at University of San Francisco. It's a scene of bloodshed and slaughter, a frightful toll of carnage and destruction. Brave young men advancing to an unknown fate that might be worse than death itself. It finally finishes in a draw, but it'll never be forgotten, the Battle of Garbage Hill.
All right, folks, get your groan ready for these two jokes. Get down to business. Doctor, examining patient, you have acute tonsillitis. Patient, never mind the compliments, doctor. Just tell me what's wrong with me. Perspective. First, what do you see in that homely dame? Second, why, she's very pretty after the 10th beer. First, but I thought she didn't drink. Second, right, but I do. Thanks for watching. I'll end today's video with a few more of those 1930s unusual newsreels.
80,000 fans gathered in Los Angeles to see the famous Gilmore Road Race for stock cars, in which many of America's foremost drivers participated under the official auspices of the Contest Board of the American Automobile Association. And here are the 27 entries, including Chevrolet, Chrysler, Ford, Plymouth, and Rockney. Standard cars except for fenders, windshields, and headlamps. And the race is on, a grind of 4 hours over one of the toughest tracks in the world. In driving 131 laps to cover 250 miles, these drivers must pilot their cars around 768 curves, and right-hand curves too, which makes it harder, for most races are driven always to the left. There's Woody Woodford in a Plymouth, and who's that sneaking up on him? It's Rex Mays in 21, and look at him go. Here is one of the most strenuous tests that can be given an automobile. It's a test of power, of acceleration, of roadability, of every part of the car that contributes to performance for the average driver. I tell you, it's an afternoon of terrific punishment for those cars on this twisting, turning track that racks the frame, that demands all the power and the strength that an automobile has to give. And now, up goes the yellow flag, which means that this is the last lap. And then the checkered flag. The race is over, and the first 10 cars to finish were 10 Ford cars. Here is the winner, Stubby Stubblefield, popular Pacific Coast racing star, who piloted a Ford V8 to victory over this perilous 2-mile track at an average speed of better than 62 miles an hour. Congratulations, Stubby. several hundred youthful craftsmen entered, these youngsters carried off high honors and cash prizes in Detroit's first birdhouse contest, staged at the State Fairgrounds. Highest honor of the show went to 14-year-old Donald Grieger, a pupil at the School for the Deaf, whose purple Martin house is exciting the admiration of Walter Hastings, wildlife photographer of the State Conservation Department. Many oddities appeared among the creations. For instance, any bird would find it pleasant to set up lighthouse keeping right here. No feeling of huff, but rather one of puffy pride will come to the tenants of this charming Three Little Pigs terrace. A landing field pylon makes it plain that cozy quarters will await the birdie first to wing to this modernistic abode. Homekeepers will pile on to this place. And bless my soul, here's Joe Penner's fowl. Well, all I can say is that some fortunate little wren is sure to duck right into this bungalow. Helen Hauser on the left built a feeding shelf, and Elizabeth Grimes built a flicker house, and they both won prizes. Congratulations, girls. The brick building is the 9th Precinct Station on John R. Street. The fence encloses the exercise pen for police horses. Through this fence crashed a young chap when he lost control of his car on his first attempt to drive. That's what you might call giving your car a bum steer. Police smiled, however, at the youth who had the tough luck to crash a police station and accepted his offer to repair the fence. Gee, I just couldn't help it, was Emil DeRoy's smashing defense for smashing defense. When songbirds lift their beaks and railbirds lift their beakers in joyous acclaim. There's a hull for every boat, and in spring one must paint the hull of it. But why bother with leaves when it's so much easier just to leave 'em be? Spring, when the small boy's favorite animal is one old cat. Lots of original ideas are introduced by these players. Now just look at this defiant batter. Get way back, you outfielder. Oh, well, never mind. Not heads up, but heels up is the mark of proficiency in this sprightly game. And here's another new game. Nice, but somehow I still prefer post office. And now for Granddad and Grandmother. Spring has a particularly tender significance. Again, they're looking over the old flower beds together. And oh, how rollicking it is for the housewife when it's springtime. But perhaps the sweetest caress of all is when spring breezes bring innocent slumber. Signs of spring, well, here's one that subtly indicates toward what the young man's fancy turns